OpenAI and AMD make a massive deal, which is insane for both companies. So rather than exchanging cash, they've basically exchanged resources like people would do in the olden days. And OpenAI targets 10% AMD stake via multi-billion dollar chip deal, and this just exercises the crazy bull market that we're in, the crazy financial times that we're in, how it's so easy to make money. I don't know if you guys have ever been in the market when it's been difficult to make money, but this is easy mode, bruh. Look at AMD. It's just going, it's just flying, and that's the majority of stocks. If you check the S&P 500, it's also going mad. It's going berserk, you could say. So OpenAI has agreed to buy tens of billions of dollars worth of chips from AMD as part of a deal that could see ChatGPT maker take roughly 10% stake in the 270 billion chip maker over time. So you'll have a proportion of the company. The San Francisco-based artificial intelligence startup said on Monday it had agreed to purchase processors with a total power consumption of 6 gigawatts, roughly equivalent to Singapore's average demand. The companies did not put a total dollar figure on the transaction, but OpenAI executives estimate that 1 gigawatt of capacity costs about 50 billion to bring online, with 2/3 of that spent on chips and the infrastructure to support them. So that's a lot of money, but they didn't want to put a monetary value on it, and they just wanted to exchange the data and the chips for shares in the company, which is crazy. It's good. The deal comes just a fortnight after AMD's rival Nvidia announced it planned to invest 100 billion in OpenAI. So AMD's looked at what Nvidia's done, and it's trying to do the same thing, with the two companies pledging to deploy 10 gigawatts of new data center capacity, because they are competing against each other. I've even seen it in a smaller category, like people who buy PCs either buy AMD chips for the PC, or they buy Nvidia, the graphics cards. So that's also, they are rivaling each other there, and they're trying to balance their companies. AMD has also issued OpenAI a warrant to purchase as many as 160 million shares at an exercise price of 1 penny or cent over time, based on AMD achieving certain share price targets and OpenAI deploying its chips. That would equate to roughly 10% of the company. That just shows how big OpenAI can get in ChatGPT, because if OpenAI have got this much pull and people want to invest in it this much, where is OpenAI and ChatGPT actually headed? AMD has also issued OpenAI. AMD's shares rose nearly 24% on Monday to close at $203. It did surge on the day. The transaction is the latest intended to accelerate OpenAI's development of new data centers to train and power its AI models, and to ensure the group's central position in the race to build the cutting-edge technology. This partnership is a major step in building the compute capacity needed to realize AI's full potential, OpenAI Chief Executive Sam Altman said. Now, critics have raised the concerns, though, of such huge AI infrastructure deals amid uncertainty over how the vast data centers envisaged by OpenAI would be financed or powered, because they need to be pretty large and they need a lot of data centers. AMD has pushed to establish itself as a credible alternative to Nvidia's chip and software for AI, seeking to narrow Nvidia's technological lead and winning businesses from companies such as Microsoft and Meta. Wow. So it's competing with the likes of Microsoft and Meta. That's how big AMD is, and that's why I was looking at the company, and that's why I'm reading this article, because I want to be on top of everything, and I want to know everything, just to see if there's a better market potential out there. I wouldn't be willing to buy it, though, especially with it surging like that, because Nvidia has got the lead from Microsoft and Meta. The deal commits OpenAI to buying AMD's upcoming M1450, its most advanced AI chip, which aims to compete with Nvidia's latest Blackwell products and is due to hit the market in the second half of next year. This means OpenAI is likely to be one of AMD's biggest customers for the new technology, with people familiar with the matter adding that the two groups have worked closely together over recent weeks to determine the specification of the new chip. Altman has said AI's demand for computing power far exceeds current capacity. He is attempting to stimulate infrastructure development while binding some of the key businesses in the technology supply chain closer to his startup. Wow, bruh, this is actually crazy, man. Like AI is crazy. I know we're in a bubble and eventually we're gonna pop and all these valuations are gonna come closer to the moving averages, but in the long term, AI is going to have a significant impact on our lives. OpenAI is also committed to purchasing 300 billion in computing power from Oracle over the next 5 years and is working with Oracle, SoftBank and other development partners to build US data centers with a further 7 gigawatts of power demand. In addition, it is working to produce its own AI chips with Broadcom. In all, those deals commit OpenAI to using 23 gigawatts of new capacity, which by the company's own estimation would cost well over 1 trillion to develop. This is how much money they are putting into AI. They're also like the other big companies. The other big companies are so valuable that big companies buy off the other big companies and make deals with them because that's how important they are. Wow, bruh. The average person is cooked. Wow. The company's growth since the 2022 release of ChatGPT has been unprecedented. The revenue having shot up to about 13 billion on an annualized basis, so that's yearly. And it has grown mad. It's actually grown quicker than I think the internet, but also crypto, which grew at an exponential pace. Wow, but OpenAI remains loss-making due to the steep cost of model development, marketing and hiring. Okay, so they've got a lot of money to spend on that. Its recent deals are long-term and will be paid in increments as operational expenditure, meaning OpenAI is not committing to spending hundreds of billions of dollars up front. So it's doing it incremental. That's smart from a business perspective because you don't want to go bankrupt. As part of its arrangement with AMD, OpenAI could buy chips directly or rent them via a third-party cloud company, according to a person with knowledge of the deal. Nonetheless, the company must find creative ways to meet its ballooning future liabilities. OpenAI executives are betting that ChatGPT continues to grow steadily from 700 million weekly users and that it can push the proportion of paid subscribers beyond its current 5% level. They are also exploring new lines of revenue, including a recently launched shopping feature and an AI device designed with the former Apple star designer Johnny Ive. Having raised about 60 billion to date, OpenAI is now looking to lean on its partners' balance sheets and the debt market to meet its insatiable power demands. Because it's a lot of power, isn't it? So what, they're going to go into debt and they're going to try and use the companies that they talk to meet these demands of these insane power demands. OpenAI plans to leverage Nvidia's equity investment, for instance, using the backing of the world's most valuable company to secure better terms from the lenders. According to an executive at the company, the AMD deal is expected to deliver tens of billions of dollars in revenue for AMD while accelerating OpenAI's infrastructure build-out, said Jean Hu, AMD's chief financial officer. This agreement creates significant strategic alignment and shareholder value for both AMD and OpenAI. Tens of billions for AMD while accelerating OpenAI's infrastructure build-out. Wow, bro. Wow, these companies are big dogs, man. These lot are big dogs. What are the comments saying? If you wanted to design a commercial environment right for the most spectacular crash, I guess a 10% stake. Wow, bro. Can someone explain why AMD is happy issuing shares and diluting its shareholders? Well, in theory, if AMD issued shares worth 10% of the company and the value went up by 20% as a result, it's still value accretive for shareholders. Oh wow, that's worrying though for people who are invested into AMD. To be honest, if they're just giving away 10%, is this nonsense legal? 2000 vibes. What happened in 2000s? 2000 vibes. Hold up. Wait a minute, I need to see a chart of the S&P. Even better, AMD from the 2000s. Ah, okay, so he thinks it's gonna fly. I believe it will go up. I don't think it'll fly, but I still see a crash coming. These lot are way too over leveraged, and you see with OpenAI, the amount of money that they need to power their infrastructure is crazy. Wow, bruh. Wow. Talk of a bubble was overblown, but not anymore. AI is a revolutionary technology that will change every industry in our lives, and it deserves a massive investment. But OpenAI's and Nvidia's recent behavior risks creating oversupply, even for AI, whose growth is frenetic but still limited by how quickly valuable AI applications can be built and deployed. OpenAI thinks it's a winner-take-all race to be dominant player, to build the next monopoly like Microsoft or Alphabet. Understandable, but as the article says, AI is much more capital intensive than traditional software and may not lend itself to monopolies like Windows or Google. Now that OpenAI is starting to do circular deals with its suppliers and having them fund its rollout, instead of getting investors, customers or partners to do it, we're in a bubble territory. Facts, bro. Be careful. You might watch this and think this is insane for AMD, and it could be, but at these valuations, are you willing to buy? Because I'm not. The only way I'm buying here, you'd buy it here, maybe, on the breakout. But if you're buying here, bro, you need to really consider your investment strategy. Because half the things these lot promise, it may not happen quickly. It happens, like they mentioned, over time. So where's the price going to be over time? You tell me. I'll give you a little drawing to help you out. That is potentially what could happen. I think we'll get a blow off top. So I think it'll be more like this. Fizzle out, and then maybe we'll go higher after that. But who knows? They might be so over leveraged that they may go bankrupt. We'll see.